Good evening, everyone, and welcome tonight. We're going to venture into the middle of nowhere to experience some truly one. This happened in late November of 2012. I was working on an installation at a winery in North Carolina. It was a long day because we were working out of town and wanted to finish in one day. I started driving home around midnight with a 3-hour drive back to Oakland. At about 1:30 a.m., outside of Stockton, I saw a girl standing on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere. She was wearing a short white dress that ended about 3 inches above her knees and was barefoot. She had long black hair flowing down her shoulders and stood as still as a statue. I looked at her as I drove by, but she didn't move or acknowledge my loud truck. I was pretty freaked out because you always hear stories like this and expect the girl to appear in your vehicle. But that wasn't the case. She just stood there in the night. The most unsettling part was that it was cold, in the lower 40s, and drizzling. Despite wearing a short dress and no shoes, she didn't seem cold or shiver. After I got home, I looked up Ghost Girl outside of Stockton and found numerous articles and stories about the East 8 Mile Road girl. The descriptions matched what I saw perfectly. I moved to another state shortly after and never went back, but I want to return someday to see what I can find. Has anyone else seen this girl in that area, or a ghost girl on the side of a road like this? Any information would be appreciated. I hail from the Gulf Coast of Texas, and during my childhood, transitioning from the vibrant lights of Houston to the dim, desolate country roads was a quick journey, taking only a few minutes. While this isn't as common now, anyone who's ventured far into the countryside away from urban areas knows how dark it can get. You can witness the breathtaking sight of the Milky Way, but unless the moon is exceptionally bright, visibility is limited, and you can barely see your hand in front of your face while driving. The only illumination comes from your headlights, leaving everything else engulfed in darkness. My father's relatives are scattered across the Gulf Coast, including cousins who lived in remote areas. One night after Halloween in 1988, my parents, my brother, and I were returning from a visit to one of these cousins. In the back seat, my brother and I were quietly discussing a show we had watched after finishing our trick-or-treating. The show featured a tale about a shape-shifting ghost that mimicked oncoming headlights that never passed. We found the concept eerie, and our dad chimed in, mentioning that he had encountered such phenomena before and that the back roads of Texas were known for paranormal activity. As soon as he spoke, a mile or so ahead, a pair of headlights appeared facing us. Initially, we thought nothing of it, merely laughing at the coincidence. Encountering other cars at odd hours was not uncommon in such rural areas. However, as we continued down the road, the headlights remained static, neither approaching nor changing direction. The atmosphere inside the car shifted to an eerie silence as we all fixated on the stationary lights. Feeling increasingly unnerved, my brother and I eventually ducked out of sight behind the front seats. Shortly after, my dad abruptly veered off the road and accelerated, enveloping the remainder of the journey home in silence. Despite traveling along that road on numerous occasions afterward, I never witnessed a similar occurrence. Eventually, a couple of years later, we relocated to Illinois to be closer to my mother's family, where I discovered that the back roads of Illinois could be equally unsettling. However, the memory of those headlights keeping pace with us after our discussion remains etched in my mind. My sister, a petite woman, and her fiancé, a 6-foot-tall, 200-pound man, decided to take a vacation and rented a trailer in a remote area. Late one night, around 1 or 2 a.m., they had a heated argument, and he angrily retreated to another part of the trailer, leaving my sister feeling frustrated. Suddenly, she felt an eerie calmness wash over her, followed by a vivid image of a clearing with rocks, despite never having been there before. It felt as if she was being drawn to that place, guided by an inexplicable force. Putting on her shoes, she informed her fiancé that she was going for a walk and left. She walked about 50 yards from the trailer when she was overcome by an intense sense of dread and fear. It felt as if proceeding further would result in her demise, but she fought the urge to panic and instead returned to the trailer, closing and locking the door behind her. Before her fiancé could inquire about what had happened, they both heard something approaching the trailer from the forest at an unnaturally fast and heavy pace. It circled around and over the trailer until finally coming to a halt at the steps leading to the door. Her fiancé grabbed a knife, ready to confront whatever was outside, but she pleaded with him not to, insisting that there was nothing he could do to harm it. He reluctantly acquiesced, and they remained inside the trailer, on edge and unable to sleep for the remainder of the night. When daylight finally broke, there was nothing to be seen outside. The most unsettling aspect, she recalled, was that whatever it was never left, lingering in the shadows beyond their sight. Living in Pennsylvania, I've encountered numerous scary and eerie tales in this state, which initially unnerved me. Learning that Dave Politis referred to the entire state of Pennsylvania as a cluster only added to the spookiness. Despite the unsettling stories, Pennsylvania boasts stunning forests, particularly during the seasons, with fall showcasing beautiful colors. However, even amidst this natural beauty, eerie occurrences have taken place in the woods where I reside. My home is perched on a high cliff, surrounded by vast woods, boulders, small caves, and a serene creek. While the setting is typically peaceful, there are moments of creepiness. For instance, the motion sensor light positioned near the cliff often flickers on and off during the evening while I'm busy with chores. Despite investigating, I'm unable to discern what triggers it. Although bats are a common explanation, I can't rule out other possibilities. Moreover, my German Shepherd adds to the intrigue. She's typically fearless and fiercely protective, yet occasionally she displays signs of unease. There are times when she hesitates to venture outside, her fur bristling along her back and spine, signaling her discomfort. This behavior is particularly disconcerting on nights when the motion sensor light is unusually active. Given her typically bold demeanor, her reaction alarms me, leaving me wondering what could be causing her distress. I'm curious if other dog owners have experienced similar behavior in their pets. While I've considered various explanations, such as unfamiliar scents, my dog's reaction remains puzzling. Any insights or shared experiences would be greatly appreciated. I grew up on a property adjacent to a game preserve, granting my brothers and me the freedom to explore the wilderness endlessly. Over the years, there were moments when I sensed an ominous presence in the woods, particularly at night, though not consistently. Given our reliance on an outhouse, I often found myself venturing out into the woods after dark, a routine that heightened my awareness of my surroundings. Fast forward to my teenage years, around age 14 or 15, when I embarked on a mission to gather plants for a terrarium. Accompanied by our dogs, I strolled along the public lane bordering our property, gradually entering our wooded area. It was a splendid spring day, the sun casting its warmth, yet an eerie silence enveloped the forest. Absent were the chirping birds and scurrying squirrels, replaced by a curious, rhythmic tapping emanating from deeper within the woods. Initially dismissing it as the work of a woodpecker, I continued my search for plants. However, the tapping persisted, seemingly synchronized with my movements, ceasing whenever I paused. As the sound drew nearer, morphing into an unsettling slapping noise, a sense of dread washed over me. Sensing a malevolent presence closing in, I sprinted through the woods, hurling myself off a 6-foot embankment onto the road below. A move driven by instinctual desperation. Miraculously unharmed, I found solace in the perceived safety of the road, an unspoken boundary that offered protection against the unseen threat lurking in the woods. Yet, to my horror, the entity persisted, trailing me along the road for 420 feet, until I reached the sanctuary of my house, visible on the horizon. For years I kept this harrowing encounter to myself, dismissing it as fanciful imagination. However, upon confiding in my mother and younger brother one fateful night, I was met with confirmation of their shared experiences, validating the reality of the malevolent force that haunted our woods. Reflecting on this chilling incident, I'm reminded of the unsettling mysteries that lurk within the natural world, serving as a sobering reminder of the unknown dangers that lie beyond our comprehension. Dear listeners, your support and engagement mean the world to me. Until next time, stay safe.